We are live, and hello, everyone. Welcome to the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. We are here for another wonderful Sunday. Melissa Houston and I are excited to have you join us. If you are new to us, or if you're not new, let us know where you're watching from in the comments down live. Let us know what city, what state, what country you're listening from. And we want to make sure that you all have a chance to learn from us today, but also share your insights because we want to make sure that we are sharing our knowledge that everyone can learn today. And today's topic is about managing through the chaos and finding clarity in the confusion, whether that's at home, at work, outside factors. It happens to all of us, and there's things that we can do. And so I have some suggestions on how I like to share things to leadership, but also to individuals to help them manage through this. And I know Melissa has some amazing insights that she coaches to about this. Now, these are going to be LinkedIn audios as we've done in the past. I have my cameras on today because just for a short bit, because I am promoting my team, the Washington Commanders, who are playing today against the Philadelphia Eagles. And do me a favor, if you are, let's see if I can see this now where I put this. If you are a team that is rooting, let me know who you're rooting for. Are you rooting for the Commanders or are you rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles? Put in the comments, let me know. Or if those aren't your teams, which of the four teams are you rooting for? The Chiefs? Are you a Taylor Swift fan? Are you rooting for the Commanders, who haven't won in 33 years? Are you rooting for the Bills, who, God bless you, Bills, I have family in New York, but you all keep on going to the Super Bowl and losing? Or are you rooting for the Eagles, who, I'm sorry, Eagles, but you all talk a lot of smack about Washington. You all got a jail in your stadium. You're just a little bit too violent. No. The Commanders need to beat you today. So I do have my daughter's dog, who's a Ravens fan, dressed in Commanders jersey. So thank you very much, Gia. Sorry, Miranda and Dan Ray, but today she's a Commanders fan. Love you too. And then, of course, over here, could not have a live without Copper in his Jaden Daniels jersey, see number 5 right here. So he is rooting for the Commanders as well. So just wanted to make sure that you all share in the comments, who are you rooting for? Is it the Commanders? Is it the Eagles? Is it the Chiefs? So we got some people that are putting in the comments. Let us know. Well, I shut off my camera, and I wanted to do our introductions and let Miss Houston here share about her West Coast teams that are not playing so well in the playoffs this year, except for maybe the Chiefs. Okay, I'll give you that. But Melissa, please introduce yourself and tell us your thoughts about this.
Listen, I mean, anybody who's going to beat Felipe's team is my team this year, automatically, just based on that intro. So welcome, good morning. It's Sunday, guys. What the heck? We were a little late, honestly, because I started arguing with Felipe over football. I'm a Cardinals girl. I'm from Arizona. I was born and raised there. Even when they were losing, they were my favorite team. So here I stand, right? But honestly, I'm also a Washington State girl. And so my default second team has to be another bird. And we're going to talk Seahawks, right? And so I'm excited for that. But then I'm actually hearing Pete Carroll's going to the Raiders, and Pete Carroll's kind of a phenomenon. I like to watch what he does. And so my best friend from junior high, being a longstanding Raiders fan, LA to Las Vegas, he's followed them. I've always harassed him in the same way I'm harassing you. And now I'm thinking, oh gosh, did I just join his team as the third? So anybody who beats Felipe's team is my favorite this year. And then beyond that, it's always the Cardinals, Seahawks, and then maybe Raiders. Guys, good morning. Tell us who you love. Even if they're not winners, it's okay to support a team who hasn't done it yet, right? That's the glorious thing about what Felipe's doing. As much as I'm giving him grief, he has followed his fandom and supported them throughout never being even recognized. Did anybody know Washington, D.C. had a team? I mean, genuinely, no offense, Felipe. I don't know if anybody really knew that. Maybe I'm the only one. But
yeah, you're the only one, okay?
Let's get some clarity on that. But let's dive into today's topic, because as much as we are opening with fun, guys, can I just get an emoji? Give me a thumbs up if you've been stressed this week because of stuff maybe out there, a lot of confusion in life, media, your job, politics. Let's be honest, everything's confusing right now, right? I don't want to say anything one way or the other. This is not to push any political agenda by any means. I want to be clear. I am as purple as it gets when it comes to politicizing anything. I'm in the purple center, the blue, the red. I like to meet in the middle. But guys, it's a lot of information coming quickly. And this happens, I'll be honest, every 4 years for me. I see chaos, confusion, lots of quick movement. It happens in business when you exchange hands for CEOs as well. If you've ever seen a manager take over a facility from another manager, it's always going to be a little bit confusing, right? Anytime there's more than one leader in the kitchen or more than one set of rules, I've done integration and change management, Felipe, and even background screening, confusion, right? And so we have to be able to assess and adapt. And so I really found myself quiet this week doing those things. And I can't wait to dive in. I love that we discussed this topic, managing through the chaos and getting clarity. And really, when I thought about my favorite people, because I don't want to just talk about, you guys know Venn diagrams, right? Felipe and I have covered this very well. We know how to sort data in that way, but I really wanted to think about who do I look up to, right, Felipe? And so I'm going to dive into that. But first, let me just say hi. I'm Melissa Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. What that means is I help people figure out what they want to be when they grow up, and then I motivate them to get it done. Right? You are your best capital. Let's be serious. Without you, you can't get anything done. And so I help you harness that power. The other thing I do is play on this platform. I'd like to coach and consult for free in events like this with Felipe every other week on Sunday. And then I also like to do it on Saturdays. Typically it's weekly. I do like to take breaks from time to time. I am a good boss in this sense that I feel like I get vacation, even from my own business. But Saturday weekly, I host coffee chats. And then sometimes I take pause to reflect, especially in moments like this. And so here we are, right, Felipe? I really took the time to just pause, assess what life was looking like, kind of catch up. I was working. I don't know about others. If you guys have been working this week and maybe not on top of it all, it's okay. But then how do you catch up, right? How do you get going? And so we'll get into that. Felipe, I want to go ahead and pass it back to you, let you cover your famous openings here, because I know they have their notepads ready. Their pens are up. They're going to take good notes today because, guys, if you've ever experienced change, unexpected or unclear, or think about a family gathering where 30 people are at the same dinner table asking you to pass something and you don't know who asked for the peas, but somebody needs them, right? How do you get that clarity? And so we'll dive into that. But Felipe, why don't you go first and then you can shoot it back to me when you're done.
Well, thank you, Melissa. And just shout out to everyone who has been in the comments. I love hearing about how passionate the Eagles are. LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who this is. This could be Damian Kinsey. I'm not sure. But I love what he says. Commanders have earned this place in the playoffs. Daniels is a phenomenal, but he isn't Mahomes. Okay, you know what? He's not Mahomes, but he is the best rookie quarterback that there has been possibly in history at this point, depending on how well he does today and if he goes to the Super Bowl. So with that being said, let's not make this all about football, obviously. A few things I wanted to highlight here for those of you that are maybe new to this. If you are looking at the comments, I know that, Adrian, you mentioned the comments are a little jumbled. Try to look and listen to it on your one device, on LinkedIn. If you're on YouTube, listen to it on YouTube. But if you do join on Restream, it's going to be a little bit of a delay. So you want to make sure that you're only having one device. And the comments on your phone tend to do better than on a tablet. My tablet, the comments tend to get jumbled and lost a lot. I think the desktop is probably the best version, so for the comments. But with that being said, just a few things and a few reminders for those who are new. If you have not checked out Melissa's website, do me a favor and click on the QR code and check out documentandacting.com, and Melissa Houston's website's right there. So you can learn more about her coaching business. Great insights that she shares. And you can really just see why so many people gravitate towards her for coaching. And if you want to see more of the history, we do have a careers coaching or Careers Chaos and Coaching playlist on YouTube. I just Houston doesn't know I did this yet, but I created a formal playlist on YouTube. So if you go to there, you can check out our YouTube page and see all the past ones we've done and stay on top of the future ones we do as well.
You got to fix that. It says culture, Careers Chaos and Culture podcast, but I do like that. That could be a whole thing.
Oh.
But no, that's not it. Fix it.
That's not us. All right, I'll fix that.
Okay. But hey, thanks for that. I just, since I popped in, I should say thank you. That's a great surprise.
Welcome. And then, of course, I'm not going to stop reminding people about the book that we both co-authored in. That, thanks to Nick, the Gifted Bipolar Writer, this message to my family really has some heartwarming messages and stories that I think so many people can resonate. There's so many stories in here that you may not resonate with all the stories, but chances are you probably will resonate with one of them. And then finally, people keep on asking us how they can thank us for what we do and what we share. Melissa and I have buy us a cup of coffee to say thank you. That's probably the easiest way to do it. You can find Melissa's link as well. I need to get your link so I can share it here, Houston. So send it to me. But make sure that we do this to give back. That's our goal. If you want to buy us a cup of coffee, we'll drink it. So it's not a problem. But we want to thank you for all the gratitude and appreciation you shared with us. We do this because we want to give back. We want people to learn from our mistakes, but also have life just be a little bit easier. So with that being said, let's jump into this amazing topic, Houston, because I know that we have so much going on here and we have had so much conversation around this topic. And I think that in life right now, whether you're dealing with health issues, you're dealing with child care issues, elderly parent issues, maybe you're dealing with environmental fires. God forbid, people in LA are still dealing with the fires at some level. People are dealing with cold, freezing cold. People in states that never even dealt with snow are dealing with 9 inches of snow. And that can be very chaotic when they don't have the equipment to clear the snow. States like Florida and New Orleans, in areas like that get snow like they did this past week, they don't have snow plows and salt trucks out there like other states do, ready to go. So it is something that paralyzes the city. And then you have outside factors, like I'd be remiss if I didn't say, hey, the change in administration impacts certain people. Some people are excited, some people are scared. Some people's jobs are in question. People are in the federal government are asked to be returned to work 5 days a week. They're scrambling because they don't have maybe childcare set up. They don't have transportation set up. They don't have a lot of things set up or ready to go. So it can create a lot of chaos. But here's the thing. With chaos, we can manage through it. And there's some tips we wanted to share here because Melissa coaches to this all the time. I train and I coach to this all the time. And then we live it. And so we wanted to share some of the things that have helped us get through our difficult times. Now, I wanted to share 2 different strategies here. One from a leadership perspective. If you're in the workplace and you're got a lot of chaos going on, a lot of uncertainty going on, what can you do about that? And so I was trying to share images here of Felipe's 5, and it was not working as well. I don't know. Let me see if I can do it. I'm going to try it, Houston, just for fun, to see if maybe it might work here. But these are 5. What's that? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, before I forget to tell you, it is on my website. If you want to snag that QR code, I have my buy me a coffee there. Just FYI. I just checked.
All right, let's see if this one looks blank for some reason. I don't know why. Oops.
If this doesn't work, do you want to drop them in the comments on the thread? That might work too.
That might work. Well, let me try this one here. This one I think will work. All right, so yes, all right, here we go. So here is Felipe's 5 tips for leadership, really. And hopefully y'all can see this well. Let me see if I can make this a little bit better there. But as leaders, when things are happening in the workplace, that first, and you said it already, Houston, that pause and prioritize. Because so many things are coming at you in so many different directions. If you're looking on social media, you might be doom scrolling. There are things that can distract you from staying focused. So pause, maybe you need to take a break and walk away and go to a quiet space and make a list. Prioritize what needs to get done. You're not going to get everything done, and that's okay. But when there's chaos, you need to have your top priorities, whether it's top 3, top 5, whatever that looks like. All right. Secondly, control the controllables. Don't try to control something that you have no control over, because you are going to spin your wheels, you're wasting time, and honestly, you're probably distracting people to start trying to control the uncontrollables as well, and that's just creating more chaos. So focus on what you can control, the things, the environment that you're in, the team, what you say, what you're working on and focusing on. These are controllables. All right. Number 3, create micro moments of stability. That might be taking a moment to say, okay, hey, we got this part done. We're okay here. This part is okay. We don't need to focus on this anymore. Let's focus on the next priority. But celebrate that moment. Make sure that you take that micro moment of stability to make them feel a little bit more confident, and make yourself feel a little more confident that, hey, you're making progress through this chaos. Number 4, seek clarity through communication. Talk to your team. They are just as nervous and scared as you are, if not more. So they are looking to leadership for clarity. So when your communication is not clear, it's going to create more chaos. So provide clear communication. And sometimes that clear communication might be, I don't have an answer right now, but I'm looking into it. Give me 30 minutes and I'll be back with an update. That give me 30 minutes and I'll be back with an update is a example of clear communication. You're giving them an expectation of when you are going to come back, and they're going to be able to be at peace at least for that next half hour waiting for you to come back. And then the 5th one is shift from reacting to responding. Okay? Don't automatically respond. Don't knee-jerk react to things in chaos. That is usually not always going to be the best solution. You want to respond with intent. You want to take a moment to think with a little bit of clarity and really try to assess what is going on and what is the best path to move forward. So those are just some tips that for leadership is really important. It's one of those things where none of us take the time to start off as leaders to think about these things. And that first part that I mentioned, that pause and prioritize, that is the gatekeeper of all of this. If you don't start off with that, you're going to have a more difficult time. Okay. The next part I want to share real quick. Let's see if this one works as well. Hopefully it will. This is for yourself. And this is this the right one? Nope. All right, let me try that one more time. And then if not, we'll just move on. But let's see here. Add. Come on. Oh, it's making me do it this way. All right, stand by as we take you for the ride here. Here we go. Okay. So here are the ones that I want you to think about for yourself as an individual. Because as individuals, we're not all in leadership roles, but here's what, and some of these are repetitive, but they're also very specific. So first and foremost, during uncertainty and chaos, stay ready and not reactive, okay? Be ready to respond, not react. It's kind of like that pause mentality, but you can be prepared and not jump the gun, okay? So prepare all you want, get things ready for what you think you might want to do, but don't react. Be responsive. Secondly, start expanding your network, reaching out to others in your field, outside your field, people that might be knowledgeable about the area that you're uncertain about. This is an opportunity for you to tap into your curiosity. Curiosity can do one of two things. It can fuel your knowledge, or it can fuel your anxiety. So it's up to you to decide what you're going to do. If you're uncertain, let curiosity fuel that knowledge and go expand your network to learn more about it. Number 3, once you find out what it is that you need to learn more about, start to upskill and reskill. Learn that skill, especially if this is something that's going to help you in the future. If there's uncertainty about your job, upskilling in a different area that gives you a skill set that others might find valuable, it's only going to potentially help you with that next career move if that's what you're looking for. Number 4, let's be smart. Create financial safety nets. Start increasing that emergency savings. Start putting money away. Start scaling back on certain expenses that you don't need. Maybe you don't go to Starbucks anymore and you make coffee at home. Maybe you cancel a few of those subscriptions you have for streaming because you don't need all of them. So look at that financial safety net and start building that up, because it's one of those things that you hope you never need, but when you do need it, boy, you're glad you had it. And then number 5, and this is probably one of the most important ones if you're going to get through chaos of uncertainty, is adopt a growth mindset, you all. We talk about mindset all the time. The reality is that we are always going to be evolving and changing. It's up to us to decide if we're going to adapt and grow with it. We may not always agree with everything, but let's be knowledgeable about what we don't agree about. Don't say, I don't like the way that something tastes and you never tasted it. Let's be intelligent individuals. Let's tap into our curiosity, find out what it is about this change, and see how we can adapt to it, and see it might be something that we end up enjoying more than we thought. All right. So I'm going to stop there, Houston, because I shared a lot. I hope those things are valuable. I hope writing them here on the screen is a different way of sharing them with you all, so you all can take some notes. But Ms. Houston, let's go back to you. What are your thoughts about what I shared? What are your thoughts about what you coach to? Because you deal with this in so many different levels. I've seen you help so many different people just get through so many different variations of uncertainty. So over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Gosh, I gotta say, I loved the look of that vibe. It was so just like, I don't know, clockwork orange, right? I was digging it. It always makes me think about Sherlock Holmes too when I see those kind of things. So really, I love what you shared, and I think it's important, and I think it's kind of an expanded version of the very simple but concise thing I want to share today. And I looked at this because, as I said before we started into these topics, really was I wanted to look at the people who I think are smarter than me, somebody who might use a framework to take on the hardest problems out there, right? And so when I was trying to brainstorm who to reflect on, the Navy SEALs came to mind. And so shout out to the military, because there is a lot of preparation there. But I thought about those guys because they are the ones we call on when it really hits the fan, right? When it goes bad, they're the ones. And so I wanted to know what kind of training do they have before they go in to be the ones, right? And I've talked about the Jason Bourne effect, that the reason he's so effective is because he's never padding his pockets to figure out where he put his keys. He can take the card out of his wallet, put it through the door, put it back in his pocket, and you never saw him do it. That is effective training and preparation. And so I really wanted to emulate that. And to be honest with you guys, I went a little bit lazy once I assessed where I wanted to go, and I asked ChatGPT to help us out. So I'm going to read what it told us, right? And my question was, what is the assessment framework the Navy SEALs use to identify new problems, right? Or to tackle new problems, sorry. The U.S. Navy SEALs are a practical and highly effective assessment framework to tackle new problems, often referred to as the 3P model. So this is problem identification, plan development, prioritize, and execute. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, that sounds a lot like me. Maybe I've read this before. And to be honest, guys, I don't know, right? I did some military ROTC stuff. I loved military. I wanted to fly planes. So I can totally see me absorbing this at some point in my life. But I can't say, oh, this is that moment when it hit, right? I just don't know. So really what they say is problem identification is to define the problem clearly. What's the exact issue? What are the potential stakes or consequences if it isn't solved? Avoid emotional response and focus on an objective understanding of the situation, which again, Felipe just covered, right? He did it in a very thoughtful way, but same concepts. Not going to lie to you, it's almost like there's only one real way to approach problems thoughtfully, and that's by slowing down and really taking time. But you gather the information on the plan development. You have to use intelligence, situational awareness, and input from the team. Simplify the problem, break it down into small, manageable components, create a plan. right? Develop a strategy to solve the problem, prioritizing flexibility in case of the plans need to change. And I'm thinking about Navy SEALs. Like, what if it's as simple as, hey, this door's locked. Hey, we have to get in the building. Hey, do you have any way in? No, not really. Okay, I'm going to kick with my boot. Right? That is exactly that. And it can happen that quickly. You don't necessarily need to sit down and have a meeting with donuts and coffee to get this to work. But the more steps, the harder the situation, of course, you would need more time. And then it gets into prioritize and execute. So set priorities, determine what's most critical, and address it first. Often following the mantra, keep the main thing the main thing. Execute with precision. Once the plan is in place, act decisively while maintaining situational awareness. And then adapt if necessary. SEALs often operate in dynamic environments, so they constantly reassess and adjust. And I say this, like rinse and repeat, right? We've talked about it. Figure it out, do the plan, and then rinse and repeat. You do it every day. And this is not news, but it is harder to maintain if you have so many situations changing at once. If you start pulling out the personal, professional, relationships at home, relationships with the neighbor, the garbage man, the bill collectors, whoever it is, it can be a lot. Then you add politics and maybe changes in the government. And as a background screener, there's like 3,000 plus counties out there, right? You figure out how many states, how many counties, how many jurisdictions, how many mindsets. People are freaking out for different reasons. They're excited, they're upset, they're confused, they're not sure what to do. They're just holding on, hoping somebody they know who they feel is intelligent will explain it to them. And so, how do we sort it, right? The first thing I do is I go look at the big bullet points of the day. And I do it from all sides. And it could be the customer complaint and the employee response. It could be two coworkers or colleagues with a concern, and I have to help mediate it. It could be relationship questions about like whose sofa's coming and where is that pink fluffy cat picture going to hang. But you guys, we have to get the bullet points together. And so, looking at politics, for example, if you're confused, go figure out what the highlight reel was of the day and dive into each of those bullet points yourself, right? Get clarity on your own. Never take it at the cover. As authors, we can tell you covers are really cool, but they don't tell you what's inside. They give you hints. And there's always, for marketing purposes, there's always that hook that might get you just confused or concerned enough, that curiosity to open the page and read more, but there's a lot of people who don't. And so if you really want to set yourself above the others, you do need to scratch, right? You do need to say, hey, the sky's blue. Well, why is the sky blue? What shade of blue is it? Is it blue from every spot in my yard? Right? It's a simple thing, but there's 3 simple ways you can question the sky being blue, right? And so have those conversations with yourself. Determine how important it is for the main objective. If you want to move with integrity and honesty and make sure that you are who you say you are, you don't speak to things you don't understand, right? You do your diligence, your research, and you make sure that when you do make a plan, you do it with the least amount of impact to the environment possible, right? So if you're a Navy SEAL trying to rescue somebody, you don't want to hurt others in the process unless you absolutely have no choice. And I'm not speaking on their behalf. I'm guessing here based on everything I've ever seen in my whole life, but it makes sense, right? Same with your solutions. And so some of the supporting elements ChatGPT gave was team collaboration, right? They emphasize communication, like Felipe had said, leveraging diverse skill sets. After action reviews, AARs, once the problem is addressed, they analyze the effectiveness of their approach and identify lessons learned for the future. So even if it wasn't perfect, that's okay. Let's figure out how we prevent that not being perfect next time. The OODA loop, guys, OODA. While not exclusive to the SEALs, they often incorporate the OODA loop, which is observe, orient, decide, act, to rapidly assess and react to problems. So we get into it. You're paying attention. You're figuring out where you are, the who, what, where, when, whys, right? You make a decision. You might even document that decision, and then you get into action. So check these things out. Now, I'm going to shut up. We've been talking a lot. It's been 30 minutes, but I'm hoping you're getting so much knowledge in this first 30 minutes. I want you to tell us in the comments what's resonating. I haven't been reading, so if you dropped it before, don't feel scared. You can revisit that thought process, but Felipe, I love the thought that I went in asking ChatGPT to clarify the SEALs for me. You came in with concepts we've talked about on the show how many times, and they overlap 99%, right? And so isn't that kind of ironic a little bit? But then also, I mean, what does that tell us about problem solving and situational awareness and getting clarity before you move?
And I think we both have similar minds on this one. I think our thought process align more than typical. We don't have we're not battling out with the gloves on this one here, because the reality is that we do align a lot of things, because this is something that it's part of life, y'all. I love what Dr. Marcia said here. Let me bring this back up here. She says, respond, not react, because just because you weren't expecting it does not mean you weren't prepared. And she also said, being prepared for the unexpected is a plus. We've all heard, hey, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. How often do we really prepare for the worst? A lot of times we spend more time hoping for the best and just staying there. But I think that if you prepare for the worst, it's an unexpected plus, like Dr. Marcia is saying. So I love that insight. And I just want to shout out, thank you to Brenda Miller for showing up here. It's great to see you here. Another brilliant marketing person there. Stephen, our resident local literature enthusiast, librarian, insightful, just person in general. And LinkedIn user, I believe this is Jen Lynn. She said it earlier. So, we have a lot of people sharing here. Mohammed, welcome as well. And Christy, thank you for joining us. We want to really get some deep dives into the topic. We want to know, what are you dealing with that you're willing to share? What are you seeing others deal with? Because chances are your questions are probably questions that others have that they still don't feel comfortable asking maybe. So I put a link in there for the restream. All you got to do is click on it, allow for audio. You don't need to turn on your video, and I'll bring you up on stage, and we would love to have you join us. And we already have one person here.
And Felipe, before we add anybody real quick, I just want to ask you a question. And this is a hot button topic, but I feel like there's no better person to ask.
I'm on the hot seat.
Okay. 3 letters. DEI. Can we talk about it for a minute?
Wow.
Are you ready?
You just went right in for it, didn't you?
Oops. Listen, we do Sesame Street style alphabetizing
No. But you know what?
No, and really, I have to bring it up, and I want to dive in why. And I'm not going to call these people out. And guys, it's the professional approach. But I did a poll on LinkedIn about DEI. Just, do you think it's important? And in my network, right, this, especially in the show, Felipe and I have discussed it. We talked about it from background screening and disparate impact and how it can affect people from different races and situations, even mode of living. If you Google that, that means I can look at how you live. I can pull up and see if you mowed your lawn, and I can talk to your neighbors about whether or not you argue. And that is legitimately part of a background screen for some positions out there. And so when I think about the Melissa Houston you guys didn't know at 20, 22, struggling, barely getting by, did not always live in the nicest places because I was on the mercy of, let me go back even further. As a teenager, I didn't live in the nicest places. I was at the mercy of others. So it was any safe, warm spot. It might not have looked nice on the outside, but if that would have been used against me, I wouldn't have been an employee of certain positions, right? And so I think about diversity and inclusion and equity and all of these things. And that's one way it applies to me. I'm also a woman. And I've talked about in the 70s, women were finally able to get credit or a car or a home without a man's signature. And I think it's important to remember that is not something we've always had, and it's not too far away. And there are so many others that have it way worse than myself. There are other, races and groups of people who are still not given the same equal treatment that I have today. And we talk about it globally, right, Felipe? It's not even just a US problem. But I did a poll and I asked, do you believe in it? And I really expected a huge outpouring of yes. And I did see it. I saw 79% of the voters said yes, DEI is important. I had 13% say no. I had 8% say I'm not informed on this topic, and I respect the heck out of somebody being able to admit I don't know enough to make a decision. I think more of us should say that, right? And then do like Felipe said, give me 30 minutes. Let me look into this. I'm not sure. Let me dive in and I'll come back to you with an opinion. But when I look at the people who are voting no, and this is a hot topic, guys, but they all look like me. We could be related. I mean, honestly, you could slide right into my family photo and you wouldn't even question it. But then I dig into the roles. And some of these people have had DEI leadership roles in global organizations. Some of them are representing minorities now in their HR roles to help hire for these minority organizations, or I don't want to give it away, but humans who are in a diverse set of people who need representation and have representation, and this person is hiring for them and doesn't believe in it. And so then I start thinking, what is happening, right? If I can see it plainly in front of me, these people who look like me being comfortable enough to tell me, hey, no, I don't really believe in it, while they're telling me they work there. I'm concerned for the people who don't look like me, right? If they're reporting this to those divisions in their workforce and not being heard because these people who are in that role don't believe in it, is it really how? I mean, of course, maybe then you don't believe in DEI and you're working against the program by being at the head of it. And so a lot of concerning information coming in. And I had to be honest because I'm Melissa Houston. This is fact. I Venn diagram, taking names, faces, everything out. It's stats, right? Data. It's not opinion. They look like me. They're in roles that say they care about this and they don't. And I'm concerned. Felipe, where do we go? How do we tackle this?
So here's the thing.
HR, help me out here. I'm struggling.
First and foremost, I'm going to tell you the answer that most people aren't going to like. We're going to have to wait and see in some cases. Because if you look and read the news, yeah, you have people like Meta and Walmart, Target that are pulling back on their DEI initiatives. I have friends who their C-suite roles are around DEI. But then you have companies like JP Morgan Chase, Apple, Costco that are saying, no, we're staying true to our DEI initiatives and we are not going to pull them back. Goldman Sachs has also joined that group. So there is definitely a divide on how the country feels, how companies feel. And so there's just back to our original thing. I'm not going to react yet. I want to learn more. I'm curious. I want to see what others are thinking. I want to brainstorm and network with others. And I definitely want to find out what the best solution is moving forward for all involved. And it's definitely going to be something that, look, the reality is, no matter what is decided, it's never going to please 100% of the people. In HR, I've learned that from day one with employees. It doesn't matter if you have 100 people or 100 million people. You're not going to make a decision that pleases everyone. We are too diverse. Hence why it's kind of ironic that we don't put value in diversity, because we all think so differently. It's a proven fact. We have different opinions. We have different ways of doing things. Melissa and I, as close and as strong as we are together, we disagree a lot on different things. Doesn't mean that we're wrong. It just means that we're different. So I'm going to patiently wait and see. I'm going to do my due diligence to protect my organization. But I'm going to continue to be curious and keep on asking questions of why.
I love that. But Felipe, I got to tell you, I'm not always going to have that approach. And guys, if you're listening, if you're still following me and you had voted no, you don't believe in diversity, this is my moment to just explain. I just wanted to meet you where you are. You don't believe in diversity, and I didn't want to ruin your network by diversifying it with my diverse network. So I disconnected, and now we're second connections. If you're confused, it was for your protection. I just wanted to respect your opinions and your rights, and it was nice seeing you while it lasted.
And here's the thing. I think that there's going to be people who are trying to respond, and I don't want this to be a fight. I want this to be an educational debate where people are realizing, okay, we do understand the value. Maybe we overreacted. Maybe we went too far to one side, an extreme. Because there's value in a lot of things, and you can't just, everything's not black and white. There's gray area, and we have to address the gray. So, with that being said, let's bring on our first speaker. And for those of you that are listening, please do me a favor. One, let me know if you're team live and listening right now, or if you're in team replay, and go ahead and repost the room to your network so they know that we're going on live in case they want to join this conversation, whether they want to learn, share, or ask questions. So, Marcia Lee, one of our great friends here. It's great to see you here as always. Marcia, please tell us your thoughts on this topic. The mic is yours.
Good. Hello, everybody. Melissa, when I saw your post, I was kind of pissed off, but I have to learn how to kind of not always say what I'm thinking. So I'm going to move on today from that. I don't think this is the time to have that DEI question because that's a whole can of worms. Well, that's my opinion. So we're going to move on. I love you, know that. So thank you. So we can agree to disagree. So that's the way I am first. But Felipe, for still thank you both for what you do for the community. So Felipe, as you were speaking, like with your fabulous five as usual, I was thinking about some things, Felipe, and it's just a lot going on. I think for me, clarity, I've really become really more clarity since I haven't been drinking alcohol. And now I'm already, Felipe, I've always been real involved. But now I can see things really clear. And I don't like what I'm saying, Felipe. And what you were saying with your 5 foot from your leadership, that should be going for regular people. Because right now I'm having really problems trying to connect with people, communicating. I send people things they don't get back with me. And I've had to communicate things over and over and over with my leadership. And that I should not have to do. Because that's not my job. Like, seriously. So I'm really, this topic is really it really is resonating with me today. And it's just a lot going on, Felipe. And I wrote, yes, I'm always upskilling and reskilling because I'm thinking about what I want to do moving forward for myself so I can have a better sustainable health and just a sustainable life for myself. And yes, Felipe, and we can't cut back on expenses, but when you are cutting back, but your salary is not meeting the increases, that's an issue that a lot of people haven't been talking about. Last year was the first time we got a raise in 4 years. How do they expect people to survive? Luckily, I did have more than one job, so I'm making it work. But people should not have to work multiple jobs to make it work. That part. And I don't want to go on and on. I want to respect your time. So thank you so much as always.
Marcia, thank you for sharing that because you're talking from the real world, and it's something that it is frustrating. People are not looking at the negative impact that is happening with this DEI. And I think Sajith Kumar right here. Now DEI, what's next? Ethics, CSR. I mean, that's a fearful question. And I think people are in fear. There are people in fear of their job, their fear of their safety. There's so much that people do not know what's going to happen. And that's something that in the workplace and at home, it's a horrible feeling. And so to your point, Marcia, I think that there's that leadership shift, you're right, it applies to everyone and everyone can learn from that. And I think it's a chance for us not to pick sides, but again, to seek to understand, y'all. Seek to understand, because this is not a fight. This is a major shift and change. And for a lot of us, it's a change that maybe we don't agree with. But how can we get it back in line? And that's the question of finding some happy medium where we can get to the point where we maybe agree to disagree, but don't risk losing our values as individuals or as a country. Melissa, before we bring our next guest up, what are your thoughts?
I agree with everything she said about having resources. I mean, that's part of the equity, though, of the DEI standpoint is making sure you have the resources you need as an employee to live your best life and thrive in your workplace. And that means equal pay, pay based on a living wage, right? Making sure you have resources to healthcare and mental health services and support from your supervisor, and making sure it's evenly addressed across all divisions, all departments, all people. And so I think it's important to keep having this conversation because as much as people don't like the DEI, that includes veteran statuses. It includes disability statuses. And while we're not talking about that in every aspect of what's happening in the media, it is still part of the conversation every day. How do we make sure veterans with PTSD have access to employment without people being fearful of their diagnosis? How do we make sure that people who maybe need to sit every few hours because of a limitation on standing can have access to a stool or a bench? These are conversations that have to happen for everybody to be able to thrive and make their bills, right? We have to eat. We have to pay those expenses, and that's a reality. But the business of being in business can't just be getting numbers crunched. It has to be making sure the humans doing the work are okay. And I truly, genuinely believe in that. I live that at work. I mean, I have in my soul, I just want everybody to have a fair chance. I didn't have a ride to work. That didn't mean I was less willing to show up on time. But if my bus was late, I was late. And that wasn't my own fault, but it was, right? And so did I get punished for it? Yes. Is it fair? Maybe. I don't know. Would I give a little bit of leeway if it wasn't a habit? Absolutely. If there's a no questions policy on tardiness, it could be fair or it could not be, right? It depends on the reason. I've seen court legal attorneys get in trouble for being late, and it was because another court held them over. And so they couldn't disrespect one judge, but they had disrespected the other by not being on time and were punished for it. I think the other judge was the responsible party in that, right? Because they were being accountable to the person in front of them who was in leadership. And so how do we make that not a punishable offense? And it's just one instance, but there's many out there. And I think having resources, having the ability to get help at work when you need it, and having a way to pay your bills without working a million jobs is important. So thank you so much for your share.
Thank you. Melissa, we'll talk offline.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I can take you off stage. Thank you. Be fabulous.
Thank you, Marcia. Feel free to stay up on stage here. And we're going to bring our next speaker up. But before we do, just remind people, I put the link in the chat. We are, Melissa and I don't know if we're doing 2 full-hour shows still, but depending on the engagement. So if you want us to continue, come up and join the conversation. But since we're almost at the midway break here, just want to remind people that, today at 3:00, we do have an amazing game. If you're interested in watching the Commanders.
Oh my gosh. This is not a paid advertisement.
3 p.m. Eastern.
This is Felipe being weird. Go boo the guys in whatever team color he likes. The orange. Go boo the orange. Go blue. Go blue.
Root. Yes. And Marcia is a DC native, so I'm putting it up and respecting one of our guests here, Melissa. So as a DC native,
are you blaming her, or is that really a team she supports?
I think she supports Commanders. Marcia, confirm that if I'm wrong. I think she supports. But and our next guest, Gregory, is a sports fan. I don't think he's a Commanders fan, but he might be rooting for the Commanders in the game if he's not a Phillies fan. So just wanted to throw that out there because, again, living in the present is an important lesson that we share a lot. And for me, I'm a big fan of living in the present because after today, they might not be in the playoffs, y'all. So, Marcia, are you a Commanders fan?
I really don't do football anymore, Felipe. I can kind of care less.
Fair enough.
But I'm not going to be a killjoy. If they go to Super Bowl, at least crime would decrease for a while.
Yeah, they will. And a lot of friendly people in the city walking by saying hi. Everyone says hi, especially if you're wearing a jersey. Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's bring over Gregory. Gregory, thank you for joining the conversation. How are you today? What are your thoughts about the Commanders, and what are your thoughts about this topic? The mic is yours.
I don't care less of this game because both teams are the rival of I'm a Cowboy, baby.
All right, careful, Gregory.
Boy, bye,
Cowboy,
bye.
baby. And I will say
Gregory.
this. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. Hey.
All right, Gregory. I'll allow the Buffalo, but if you say the C word again, it's a PG show. We're gonna have to cut you back and put you.
Okay, I have a quick story. Hold on. He brought it up.
Felipe, take him off the stage. Felipe, take him off
Hey,
the stage.
I'm going to talk about DEI. I'm going to talk about DEI. You're going to.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Gregory. I just have to say, I am with you on your Cowboys. He can't boot me off my stage here. Really.
Man.
Because, listen.
I can totally beat you.
Listen,
Why?
Granny. No, hold on. Wait. My mother-in-law, huge fan. First game my daughter ever watched live as a 3-month-old baby was the Cowboys Cardinals. Couldn't see it, of course, but kind of movement on the screen a little bit of far away in her little outfit for the Cardinals. But that was the year that the Cowboys lost their kicker because his foot got broken and their quarterback because his finger got broken. And so also, sorry.
Right.
But go ahead. Let's slide into the DEI because I do have your back there.
I want to say that the Washington team has always been the biggest rival of the Dallas Cowboys, and we have enjoyed that rival. It's been a love-hate relationship that I fully enjoyed back to the callback days. With that being said, the Eagles, I dislike completely and want them to lose, and I have no respect for them. I respect the Cowboys to a certain degree. I'll say that as a rival. With that being said, Gregory, please share your thoughts on DEI.
Okay. I saw that poll that Melissa and Houston put up, and I voted absolutely. And I will give you some. I'm going to take everybody here to church here. If you're a neurodivergent job searcher, you will face discrimination within your job search to the tune of 50 to 60% in your job search. Basically, I will say 23% of HR professionals are trained in terms of neurodiversity in the last 6 months, and that was basically a study that was at least 2 to 3 years old. DEI is supposed to keep the checks and balance within the HR department to remove barriers, such as ATSs, because ATS is basically looking for normal humans. Neurodiverse people are not normal. They're unique, and they should be recruited as such, as unique. I'll put it in a golf term. Do not take a driver to a neurodivergent. You might would have to take out a 3-wood or a 60-degree sandwich to basically recruit that individual into your organization. Especially as me personally, that I learned that I have a protagonist personality, which is basically a personality that is 2 to 5% of the world's population. So I'm basically a very, very unique type of cake that you need to groom and basically entice me within your organization. If you put me as a square peg into a round hole, you're not going to get me, and you will not see me in terms of your recruiting and selection organization. Now, in terms of the recent events.
And Gregory, can I pause you for a second? Because I know, in all due respect, you're an encyclopedia of data, but I want to break this down and pause for a second because I don't want to lose people either. Not everybody can follow along at that rate. And so the point is we have to keep having these conversations, right? And the reality is you're doing diligence. I would love for you to share your research in the comments. Felipe, do you want to talk about DEI? Because I want to talk about this real quick. How did you apply DEI solutions, Felipe, that would help people like Gregory? Because what came to mind for me was my Jack in the Box application. It was one of my first. I was 16 maybe, and I went in and I got a paper application. I spoke to the manager the same day. I was talking to him as I was writing. I was having a live interview. I know you're of a generation even before me because you're my older brother, and so I'm certain you had a comparable experience. But I feel like that was more inclusive in some ways, but also very not if you didn't have the skin tone that maybe met with the people who had preconceived notions on skin tone. And that's historically documented. We don't have to dive in today, but Felipe, what steps do we take now that you're aware of, that you've seen or implemented, that would help bridge that problem or help address it?
So here's my, and this is Felipe's take. Okay, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody else for Melissa Houston or any organization, but this is my personal take. Gregory, you said something about HR needs to do this, and I disagree with that. It's an organization.
Wow.
It's an organizational mindset. It can't be an HR mindset alone. It can't be a one-person individual. It has to be part of the culture. It has to be an organizational mindset where people actually act the behavior, display the behavior, not check off the box. I don't honestly want a DEI checklist. I don't want necessarily formal DEI training and then we're good to go. No, I want us to practice what the true value and meaning of DEI means and incorporate that into our culture and our livelihood and how we treat other people, because that's what's going to make a change. Once you can check it off a box, that's what corporate people are going to do. They're going to check off the box, put it on the shelf, say we're good until next year, and it's not going to change anything. So to put it all on HR is wrong. To think that the ATS is going to be the catalyst of this, again, it's the human behavior that's the catalyst. So ATSs don't discriminate, people do. ATSs are applications that have become so simplified that all you need to do, and this has been done for neurodiverse purposes, upload your resume. You don't need to fill out multiple fields. You don't need to fill out a 5-page application anymore in addition to the resume. It's made it easier, and to the point where I get your resume. From your resume, I can't tell if you're neurodiverse, so I'm not going to discriminate against that. I can't tell what you look like. I can't tell how old you are necessarily. So there are steps. Can it be better? Absolutely. Can it improve? It has to. But I want you to have the mindset of recognize what is working and improving and going the right direction, and what still needs to work and improve on, because that's where our focus needs to be, of the things that still need to improve. Now, as far as organizations, again, it's about leadership and the staff together living the culture and holding each other accountable. I work in a place right now where the staff, they will hold me accountable to ensure that we are staying true to our mission and values. And that includes being inclusive and diverse and equitable. It's who we are, not what we do. And I think that's what the future, in my mind, is the way that it's going to be sustainable. Is let's stop putting a label on it. Let's stop we talk about labeling people and things. Let's stop labeling this and let's make it part of us and our culture. All right.
Okay, so I gotta just add a
we
cherry. Hold on, not yet. Hold on. I really want to add a cherry on this, because HR is also a role that could be hired into a DEI program. No offense to Felipe at all intended, but somebody above him could have said, oh, that last name checks a box for me, right? I mean, truthfully, it could. And so part of the initiative that I know that Felipe, and I was hoping you'd bring up, and this is why I'm interjecting, is the blind assessments of applicants, the no names. Even addresses have been stripped away by HR professionals in the onboarding process. So you did not have the need to Google their address or look at what neighborhood or assume, oh, well, they're in that lower end part of town automatically, right? And so this is those cognitive, or what is it? Cognitive dissonance. I'm thinking about the biases, where you don't intend to have it. But if I tell you I live below Fifth Avenue in New York, you guys know what that means, right? If I live on the Upper West Side, you know what that means. And there is the difference. And so taking that information off, taking race off, taking dates off, even just, do they have the degree or education? Yes. Where did they receive it from? These are things that I've seen happen. So that way, when it gets to the time of Felipe, hey, it looks like you have a degree from this organization, you could talk about it, right? And so not everybody's following this protocol. There are businesses out there making intense decisions to do these kind of things. So we don't know that you got your degree in the 70s or 80s because that may age you in our brain. And so, thinking through it, it's not perfect, like you said, Felipe, but I do know there are programs happening, and I do believe that it has to be above HR. And so I believe Felipe is right in what he said. So that's what I wanted to say, Gregory. What was
Okay,
your last comment?
okay. I would like to rebut a little bit because I went to a CPHR Manitoba Diversity Forum conference on the 27th of November last year.
We've talked about it.
The reason why I could bring up the ATS portion, because the speaker who I met, who I had a conversation about this, yes, last Monday, which was basically a spiritual awakening
Okay, no,
for
here,
me.
get right to it because I said you
She
could share it
said,
in the
okay,
comments.
the company is EY. They virtually took their ATS platform. They saw that there was basically bias within the ATS platform. Therefore, HR recruiters needs to go into their rejected application files to see if anybody who has slipped through. I
Right,
have
but Gregory, Felipe
this
and I understand that. Hold on, you're arguing something he said. The ATS is set up by us. And so you're right, we do have to go through our filters. He's talked about this before
but
too. And so we're not arguing that right now because that's not where we are today.
okay, this
But
the
please share that information in the comments. Let's have that discussion. We're not opposed to having it. We're just not going to keep doing that specific thread today because ATSs are not perfect. They are technology. Technology breaks all the time. I have to reset Restream sometimes. My cell phone, I have to reset my router. It's not perfect. And it's crafted by check boxes we can create in the back of an applicant tracking system. Having extra boxes is diverse and inclusive. We can only do that through beta testing, guys. This is something technology has to evolve through. It's not perfect. But the humans are not actively saying, hey, we don't like him. There are free features where you can go and test your resume against an ATS feature, right? To see how you'll look. If you're applying for jobs you don't align with, that could hurt. There are free coaching sessions out here for people who need assistance. There are phone numbers and emails for companies who are working on diversity initiatives, which if I am looking for a supportive company and I want DEI, I'm going to the companies that include this data on their application process, where it says, do you need assistance with your application? Please email us or call us and we will be happy to help. These are the things you have to look for. And while I understand we have a lot of work to do to make sure everybody gets access to those offers, we also can't make everybody do it at the same pace because you're in Canada, I'm in the US, there's different rules. I'm in a state of Washington, Felipe's in Washington, D.C., there's different rules. And so we have to be careful because as much as we want change, I never am okay with the sweeping pen. Everything just shifted because I like the way my name looks on this one piece of paper without due diligence. And so I'm seeing diligence working through your conversations, through the conversations here on LinkedIn in my network, right? You saw the poll. Gregory, we're not lost. We had the lead on a yes vote. People care and think it's important. So the messaging is rippling. We just have a small bit to still do, and we can only do it with kindness because I can promise you as a salesperson, people don't like to be yelled at, they don't like to be upset, and they want to be heard too. And so please put your message in the comment section, put that link, put that business you talk to, put their YouTube link if they have data where they've shared videos and content about it, because with knowledge is power. Felipe and I support DEI initiatives 100%, but to the limits of our own power. We're not going to force anything. We are going to try to draw people into these conversations kindly with knowledge and shared conversations and moments like this over coffee with a little bit of chaos, a little bit of fun, a little bit of not all agreeing, guys. We don't have to be yes men in this room. We can both disagree on this, and that's okay. That's life. But I do think we keep having the conversations, supporting each other, having the microphone when it happens. And so please, Gregory, go put it in the comments so we can keep this conversation going with you as a whole, because I know I can see some comments coming in and people are loving what's happening. So Felipe, anything you want to add before it? Because I don't want to go too much. It's been 15 minutes with Gregory, but I want to be fair.
Yeah. So no, I think this, this has been a very passionate debate, because the reality is that's why we're having this room. There's so much uncertainty, but again, there are things being done in this world to make things better, and hopefully those things won't go away. And Kinga, you're right. It's executives need to live these values and the story. Oh wait, she says, I know how to make it work. She says, but oh, thank you for saying I'm right. Can you tell my wife that I'm right? Because she doesn't hear that enough. So,
Michelle, he's not always right, but he
hey,
is
I
like
said,
1% of the time. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So Felipe's got to be right once. Look, I'm trying to help you out. You asked for support. Here I am.
that was like a slap support.
You
All right.
didn't say you
Anyways,
wanted genuine support. I got you.
I asked Kinga for support, not you, Houston. But anyways,
Okay, sorry.
people who are in charge and executives need to be on board. I hope to have a small. I have hope in small companies. I'm scared of bigger companies' greed, and that's a very, very thing. Greed is driving a lot of people, and that's something that I think.
Can you put that back up, please? She needs more time on the screen with that. I love what she said, and I'm sorry, King Guy interrupted him to pick on him in that moment, but it is important. It really is. And it's going to be the small guys that make the big change. It was the small businesses pulling top producers away from the big guys offering work from home. It was, hey, have your unlimited PTO. We trust you to do the job. Log in, get your job done, go walk your dog if you want to walk your dog. And it's going to be the same with DEI initiatives, or 401k plans, or whatever it is, the green stuff you're looking for. If you love coal, you're going to be there too, right? And so you have to align with what you need to, and you vote for the things you want to change. And if you're not seeing it on the ballot, you have a way to do that. But it comes down to action. And I believe that. I always have. You get clear, you figure out the problem, you assess it, you move, right? That's where we started. And I want to bring it back. Talking about that ODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. Doing the 3P model: problem, plan, prioritize, and execute. Any problem is there, you can solve for once you decide, right? And I think even AA people, like, the first step is admitting we have a problem. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to be clear that you don't like what that thing is. You assess it, you get data, you have conversations, you think through it, and you be open to keep receiving data, because things change over time, right? I genuinely, for years, thought Christopher Columbus discovered the land I live in. He really did. And that's not true. Just he was here, but no.
So,
And
I want to say real quick is, one of the things that, one of the executive orders that came out was around affirmative action. Anyone that's in HR or does recruitment and deals with federal contractors has an affirmative action plan. Now, let me be very clear about this. This is not the same affirmative action plan that is done in the school system in colleges.
University of Michigan and Al Arbor.
Greg, hold on one second, Greg. Okay, I'm just trying to explain. So the affirmative action plans that happen in schools are a quota system, if you will. In the workforce, it's not a quota system. In the workforce, we are just expected to show that we made an effort to ensure that everyone had a chance to apply, regardless of their race, gender, age, geographical location. And we are still expected to hire the most qualified person for the job at the end of the day. That is affirmative action in the workplace. But even that has been told, when you see on job postings, MFDV, male, female, disabled, veteran is what it stands for. That's being asked to be removed per this order off all job postings, off people's websites. This is something that employers are now being asked to remove, because that, along with DEI, is a violation of the executive order, which creates more uncertainty. So again, just because something is not in writing doesn't mean the behavior isn't going to change or stay the same. So that's why I'm going to wait and see how companies like JP Morgan, like Costco, like these other ones are going to deal with this, and see how they're going to move forward and be the leaders, because these are big companies that make a lot of money, and they sound like they're choosing to try to do the right thing.
I think so. And Henry had a question earlier, Felipe, I just wanted to address. It says, is it possible that We can start basically focusing on skills instead of personalities and societal niches. And I got to say, I wish, Henry, to be honest with you, I was on a different social platform and I saw a comment that said, "Great, can we just get back to which, fraternity you were aligned with?" And I was like, "No, sir, you can't, because you know what? I've run businesses that you haven't, and you aren't qualified to, and you have a degree and I don't. And so if you're basing it on which frat or sorority I was in, I'm out already. And so I don't like that thought process. I love personality based hiring because fun and passion sell, and I will hire based on that long before I am basing it on what you know, because the thought process of making it only for college people, graduates, people who can have access to that. I didn't have access, not because I wasn't incapable of going. I was a great student. I was in all the extracurriculars. I was in ROTC. I was planning military, and I was going to go in at a higher level because of my ROTC in high school. However, I gave all that up to be a caregiver for a family member because we were financially strained and didn't have the means to provide for him. But we also didn't have the means to let him not be provided for. And so I don't really like it's, based on a checkbox of do they have a degree or not, because I can out degree a lot of people on paper. My knowledge bank is vast and wide, but I don't qualify for some of these businesses because without the bachelor's degree to prove to them that I checked a box for an organization that only checks boxes because somebody decided to be the first professor ever in that thing, no, sir. It doesn't work that way. And that's my why. So you can disagree, which is fine, but there's my answer. Felipe, what is yours?
What's the question again?
I mean, should we go back to not hiring on personalities and societal niches? I mean, I think a niche like my LinkedIn network, that could be a societal niche in some regard, but I tap into my network often to grab talent, right? To do business, and I don't care if they have a degree, if they can get the job done and they're willing and their personality and their passion align with the product or the plan, the problem, right?
No,
And so
the niche skills are going to help you stand out. There's no question about it. It might not be the deciding factor. It could be the deciding factor that puts you over the edge over somebody else. But don't rely only on those niche skills. Make sure that you're maintaining the other ones up to par. And that niche skill is that superpower you might have. And in your case, it might be your ability to network on LinkedIn and make an impact. I mean, being able to be impactful on LinkedIn, you have communication skills, you have technical skills, you have programming, you have producing skills, you have creative Canvas skills. There's a lot of skills that you learn, marketing, branding. So it's a niche that definitely can add value.
And I just got 2 seconds. I shared right before Felipe and I went live that we are killing it at my location in my day job. We are already like halfway through the month. I had hit goal for the month. We're 64% over plan last I checked, and I'm excited. But the reason I've been able to successfully do that is my assistant. My assistant has more fun and passion built into her little self than anybody I've ever seen. Her energy is contagious. She has helped elevate our membership program within the area, and we are leading in that way. She was number 2 in the nation for a recent program. We had a contest to get our customers engaged in that way, and it's showing proof. It's working, right? All of that works. But the only thing I hired was her fun and passion. She had worked at Dairy Queen prior to this. And I loved it because I had worked at Dairy Queen. But something she told me was when I said, "How long did it take you to learn the blizzards?" And anybody who's been to Dairy Queen knows there's a robust menu. She said, "Well, I kind of took pictures and I went home and I studied overnight." And I was like, "You're hired." That was it. That's all I needed to know about her. And that I didn't even care she was in college. I found that out after I decided. I really dove in further because I don't care about degree. I care about passion and the person and what potential is there. Those are my P's, right? And so I think we need to have more conversations. I think we need to get more people in the seats to have the interviews. I think we need to streamline our processes so there are more hand moments, right? Like human engagements. I don't like the AI process all the way, but I do think technology is helpful. And I do think having some knockout questions of, do you live in this country, this state, are relevant, and that's okay. because I might need you to be here. If I need you to run the front desk of my hotel and you're not in the country, it's not going to work, right? We're not there yet. And so lots of conversation topics, but Felipe, this is something that I love. We need to have it, right? And basing, like Kinka's fired up. I love what Kinka's saying too. So back to you.
Let's talk about knockout questions here, because people. First of all, before we do that, I want to give a big burly hug to our friend Aaron Gibson, who's in the airport right now. Aaron, by the way, where are you flying to? I know you're in Calgary, but where are you flying to? Let us know, and thank you for joining us in Loud Airport. We always appreciate you. If you don't know Aaron, check him out. And David Pushkin, it's always great to see you. He has the LinkedIn radio voice, I like to say. And he's right. DEI must be embedded in organizations' culture and values. It can't be a check off the box thing. Now, you mentioned knockout questions. These are not discriminating questions, y'all. Okay? If a company can only hire U.S. citizens and you're not a U.S. citizen, yes, that's a knockout question, but there's nothing we can do about it. That's just a fact. If the job is a engineering job and it requires you to have an engineering degree or 7 years of engineering equivalent experience, and you have neither, that's going to be a knockout question, possibly. So there are some categories where it is going to seem like, because you need to have a certain skill set. It's like a doctor.
And I won't apply to be a surgeon, right, Felipe? I mean, common sense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to apply for those
qualified.
jobs.
I don't care how much Grey's Anatomy you've watched. You are not qualified to work in a hospital.
No, I could be I could work as a caregiver. I could go maybe help Dr. Johnson clean the room once he's done or something. But no, I'm not a nurse. I'm not credentialed.
I would want to know what skills you have as a caregiver, because I don't know if you're patient. Based on your connection with me, I don't know if I'd want you as my caregiver, Houston. I don't think I would hire you.
You pick your clients, you pick your problems. It's something I teach in my career.
But so I definitely would have different standards for my job description. Would not necessarily meet the resume of Melissa Houston, but it might meet the one of Marcia Lee, for example. Okay, like she'll give it to me straight. With Miss Houston, I might wake up with my face painted, looking like Big Bird. I don't know.
I might Photoshop you next to a horse in a field, and if you keep talking smack, we'll show him.
You see? She's right there.
Blackmail, guys. That's it. I'm holding it over his head.
All right. So, and we have some people who have joined us on stage. All right. So, Kinga.
And thank you guys for joining today. Like, we just got a notification. The comments are on fire. Restream's cool in that way. So, thank you guys. I'm not reading them all, but I will. I promise. You guys are fantastic.
Before we get to Kinga, I just want to make sure that first of all, again, thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you for just supporting this room as we've gone through the change, and sharing it on your pages. All of you that reposted it, we see it and we appreciate you. And finally, I just want to make sure that everyone knows from the bottom of my heart that I do hope that the Washington Commanders win today at 3 p.m. Sunday, January 24th. Feel free, or 26th. Feel free to watch it today and root for the team of the Commanders and make sure they beat the Eagles. All right. With that being said, let's go to our friend Kinga. How are you today, Kinga?
Good morning. I am so not into football, so I cannot contribute to that part of the conversation. But the rest of it, I'm so down for. So this is such an important topic to me. Of course, I'm jumping in, screaming, shouting, jumping up and down. For those of you that don't know me, Kinga Vida, and I spent my entire career in agile project management in the software industry, which is basically helping teams work through problem solving. And the way that it works, and the reason that we tagged the word agile around it, is because we acknowledged the fact that there was no beginning and end to problems in software. But I think that's true for life, and basically what we're finding true in all businesses. And the way that we would get people to work well together was really taking that acknowledgement and saying, when we apply our values, and I think David put the comment in there, people over process, and we would just have some principles. And I really took a lot of these principles to heart and coached teams to understand how do we take these inherent values, prioritization and keeping constant focus on certain things, and how do we treat each other with respect when we talk about our priority list and communicate effectively around it and get to know one another around these things. And so and then make sure that I did my due diligence to get information from executive teams, to build transparency so that people understood their priorities. And so I I I kind of held firm on my values, and I actually prefer to use the word compass because I think that that is what drives us. When we can throw values on a wall all the time, and everyone can nod their heads and agree to them, but our compass actually drives our behaviors. And so I would do these kind of agreements with everyone, like, in this moment, in this particular situation, we are going to agree to certain things. And you can get people to agree to things much easier in small chunks. And it doesn't seem so vague and obscure. And so that's a way that I handled things. But I noticed that people around me wouldn't inherently do that on their own. And so I built that into our climate, which is how I flipped the culture over time. But it does take time. And I think that coaching cultures, if you can get several people in leadership to believe this methodology, that is how you flip a climate and a culture ultimately. But I think that the executive team needs to be the ones that spearhead this, because it needs to be their value system as well.
Kinga, that was so insightful, and you're right. Executive team needs to be the ones that do it. But as you were speaking, I was reminded, whether you're in this country or not, we've dealt with a lot over the last few years. Okay, just think about everything from 9/11, the pandemic, George Floyd, changes in administration. We are resilient. We have been able to get through a lot. But here's the thing. We also recognize those leaders that rose to the occasion. And we saw those that did not handle it well. And I think that was a big tell for me as to the type of leadership that I saw that rose up to maintain their values during insane chaos like a pandemic or 9/11 or the sniper shooting here in DC. This created insane chaos, uncertainty. People felt psychologically unsafe. Leadership that rose to the occasion got us through it and got us through it well. Those that didn't panicked, made knee-jerk reaction decisions, and it was ugly. So I think that, to your point, there are people that have these skills. Some, I think you can be taught to a point, but part of it is just your own core values. What do you hold important? And because what you hold important, that's what's going to resonate when the crap hits the fan. Let's just say that. Houston, what are your thoughts?
I love what you said about, like, let's just decide on these few things, right? And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it's that small bites finish big meals mentality. You would not serve a whole turkey in one mouthful. You just wouldn't. But you put a turkey down on a table and let it sit there in front of your family, it will vanish. It will. And people will willingly migrate to the table. And so I think having the conversation, making it palatable, having diversity in your offering, like, hey, let's eat together. Maybe it's not bread, maybe it's coffee, maybe it's taco night, maybe it's like, I don't know, donuts in the break room. But it's the gathering of minds to have the conversation and making sure everybody wants to be there to receive. And so I use food in the analogy, but reality is if you ask for volunteers in a DEI initiative, You're going to get people who care and probably are informed and really are passionate, right? Fun and passion make things move. And if they're passionate, they can impassion others. I've seen the ripple of that. You see an excited fan at a football game, just like Felipe, right? Look at the crowd today who got excited for a team they've never even heard of. Like, I'm kind of excited for Felipe. I'm giving him cred because it's more fun to give him cred than to decide on the teams I don't know. But I do hope that this team I really had no idea existed. I wasn't talking smack. I hope they rise up, right? I hope this little guy takes the throne in some ways, but only because of Felipe's passion behind it and the fun of watching him and his family in the photos, right? Him displaying this over time to get me to ease into the idea of this thing that I didn't understand. And so I think what she said is important. Keep revisiting it. Don't pour down everything at once, right? If you turn on a hose and it's going too fast, you choke. Same concept. Data is also the same way. I don't receive it well if I can't slow it down, pause it. Even in live like YouTube stuff, I love telling people, remember you can pause the video because they may know how to take the laptop apart. You might not know you needed a screwdriver, so you got to pause it to go grab it, right? And so think through those concepts of how are you providing the data? Are you providing it in a way they can receive it? Is it the time? Did you offer coffee and donuts or tacos? Are they hungry, hangry? Are they willing to talk about it? Is it the right moment? I mean, these are things that matter. And I think it applies to everything, not just DEI initiatives or the hard conversations. It's any chaos, guys. When the house is burning, you don't talk about who forgot the smoke detector battery. You just don't. But at some point, you're going to have that conversation because you're going to have a new home with new risk, right? And so I just love everything that we're talking about today. I know I didn't mean to drop the alphabet on you, Felipe, but I think it worked out.
You definitely did. And, but no, I think that, that taking those small bites is a huge thing. And the reality is that we have so many leaders out there that are trying to do their best. But when we think about inclusiveness, it's not just the obvious things that we talk about. It's including diverse of thoughts, ideas, ways of thinking, ways of learning, ways of communicating. There's so much in this that we kind of narrow our eyes into only one area of diversity when diversity is so much more. And it's being open to different ways of thinking and living and just how we all look at things differently. And we have to appreciate that because honestly, that's how companies grow. Companies grow because someone had a different idea, a different way of thinking. People started learning better because they had a different way of learning. Kinga, go ahead.
Yeah, I got to just speak up here because when for me, it was just the obvious way to do business. And I am coming from a software, project management, software development background. And I do believe that this is true for any business. So I don't really understand how it wouldn't apply. And I've spent the past couple of years observing other industries. But from my perspective, there are checks and balances that you need. And I, of course, am passionate about respecting everyone anyway, because that's just my value system. But even if I didn't have that value system, even if I was, somebody who was a racist or a sexist or whatever, even if I was, still from a business perspective, having diverse perspectives will help your business because there are checks and balances that'll tell you that, hey, we're building a product and there are niches, there are ways that this might offend people. And so just from a financial standpoint, and that's what blows my mind, is that even the greedy people don't get this. And so and I'm not saying do it for the greed, but it kind of blows my mind that financially this is important. So it just shows how close-minded people are, that financially it's the smart thing to do. In your heart and in your value system, it should be the right thing to do. And for the people, it's the right thing to do. So everything inside of me said, this is the right thing to do. And yet I would be in rooms where we had a shared goal as a project manager, but we had moving goals. And my job was to do some predictive analysis around, the movement of my teams and meeting the moving targets that our executive teams were giving us. And then eventually I became an executive myself, and I could start stabilizing that stuff. But when I'd sit in a room and I'd say, okay, we have kind of built a diverse enough group, or I'm dealing with the group that I have at least, and noticing how people would treat one another. And that's what's important then when you get into the inclusion and belonging piece, is that it was shocking to me how people would treat one another and nobody would speak up on behalf of one another. And that how often I had to be the person that would say, hey, wait a second, we don't have all the right people here. We don't have, we're missing so-and-so, and we shouldn't be making this decision without that person because that's their role. And we understand that their role is critical to this decision, and that's not respecting their role. And nobody's saying anything. That's not right, and
You bring a good point up there, King. People need to speak up, and I think that's the thing that time will tell. Time will tell if people actually have the courage to speak up when they start seeing things turn for the worst. And that's where leadership needs to be able to make sure, if you're a leader, this is part of your role, is to make sure you speak up when things are being done that are not right.
And worse than that, just as a warning, because I think, Melissa might be able to identify with me.
Do me a favor, keep it at 30 seconds because I want to get to Sajith before we have other people waiting as well. So go ahead.
Oh, just that there are people that speak up, but then they get kind of thrown out of the room. You get called aggressive. You get called so it's difficult, because if it's just one person, then you quickly get cast aside. So that's where it's starting to fail too. Like, this has to be a movement, because I got traumatized, and that's why I struggle with project managers now becoming a thing, because I'm like, great, all we're going to do is now assign it a role. It has to be a movement. Okay, I'm done.
I think, and that's where leaders need to make sure that they are stepping up. We have to find allies
Yes.
that feel the same way, that can support what we're saying. And again, it's got to be a way that everyone's got to remember. When these things happen, we got to respond intelligently and intentfully, not react. Okay? So, Sajith, thank you for being patient and waiting so long. Great to have you on stage. Please unmic and share your thoughts and insights on this topic. The mic is yours. Oh, and we just lost Sajith. Oh, no. Let's see if he comes back here. I know he had a mic issue last week. But
Felipe, but you said the magic word, and I'm sorry, here comes the ADHD bunny, but mics. Guys, if you're streaming, if you're recording, if you have a podcast and you do this and you repurpose your content, which microphone are you using? Because I literally went to Guitar Center last night. It's next door to the job that I do during the day, and was looking at the options, and there's so many options. There's different, do you travel? Do you not? I want to be able to repurpose the content of this. I want to make sure I'm representing my best voice for the show. And so what would you recommend? Felipe, what are you using?
Well, my microphone just went kaput. So I'm actually using the microphone in my iPad. I don't know how well it sounds, but I've been told that the microphone in the iPad and my phone actually was better than the microphone I bought, which was like 3 years old. So I need to buy a new one.
I'm not hating this. What about my microphone today? I know we had a click before, but I'm not using the same setup.
No, you're clickless today.
Oh, gosh. Okay, great. So let me tell you guys real quick. I have $8 wired headphones, old school style, plugged into my laptop through a legitimate microphone plug-in. And I think I don't mind them. I use them for my piano, and I thought I would use them today to test because the Bluetooth wasn't working. but they're fantastic. And I think simple is sometimes better. But I do want to have a professional microphone to make sure I can strip it out. Gabe Leal and I had talked about it. And I know it's important. I know Aaron has info on this. Probably if he wasn't at the airport, he could tell us. But if you guys have suggestions or if you hear good things from other streamers, please let us know. Okay. Thanks.
Kenny, people are telling me that you are a bot. So if you are not a bot, can you please come up on stage and prove that you're not a bot? Because people are not believing it. Sorry. All right. Well, listen, real quick. Just want to remind people of some things that if you've joined us just recently, there are some things I wanted to remind people of. If you are wanting to learn more about Melissa Houston and the work she does coaching, check out her website, Document and Act. It's got a great bunch of information there, some testimonials, and you can really see why she is so good at what she does. So take your phone out, scan that QR code, or it's recorded, so you can come back and scan it later if you want, but there's a chance to keep it on your phone. And if you want to see a playlist of our previous episodes, I created one on my very own YouTube channel, which I know I need to change, Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, not Culture. That might be our second podcast, who knows, Houston. But this is definitely a place where you can go check out all our previous episodes. And as well as you can check out, as Miss Houston shared, some of the more entertaining episodes of me cooking when I had COVID hair. All right, enough about that. And I will always share this wonderful chance to highlight the fact that Melissa and I co-authored a book with Nick, the gifted bipolar writer, and a number of other authors.
And can I just say this book means so much to me, and I'm so glad I'm seeing it because, guys, we all got busy. I don't know if you noticed, we were all telling you about our books, and then they got quiet. But I was busy at work. I know, Felipe, you've been busy. You've been doing things. But I finally got to read this to my baby sister. And for those of you guys who don't know, my little sister has been struggling in life. She was a few years behind me, and so my mom was deeper in her addiction. She had it harder than I did, still does, actually. And so getting a hold of her isn't always easy, but she reached out, and I was able to read this to her. And it feels different when you read it to your own family. I just got to say it. I've read it to a few friends. I've read it to my publisher. I even read it to some of my coworkers because they asked me to. But reading it to the baby sister hit me right in the throat because she understood references to the times and she giggled. And it actually started a conversation about writing a book together. She asked. I didn't bring it up. She did. And so it just means so much, Felipe. And I know you have the writing bug. I have the writing bug. Can I tell them that you're a children's book author and you're working on your newest project?
It's not nothing yet. I'm working on it. It's almost done. It's just I'm working on the graphics and the illustration, but the book is done. Yes, it's a book that I wanted to write 25 years ago for my daughter, and now I'm just hoping that maybe my grandkids will be able to write it. And what would be cool is my kids will be reading a book to their kids about themselves and one of their old pets. So,
and Felipe, I'm going to have to get a few copies. I have 3 grandchildren that all need one.
I will have
signed by the author, please. And I would be happy to be the first one to purchase them. You will just have to send me the link first.
You just gave me I might put on the last page, a coloring page for kids to color in their own, a picture of Max and Miranda, and they can color it in themselves. A fun little thing to do.
To make it look like them.
Yeah. All right. So, and lastly, we have 2 people on stage that are joining us. Just for those of you that are always asking, just want to share this again. If you want to thank us, buy us a cup of coffee. Well, that's all the thanks that we need. We appreciate all the messages that you all send us and saying how can we thank you. But honestly, just a cup of coffee and we're happy. I know Melissa she has access to coffee, but she still appreciates it because sometimes she goes to a different location than where her husband works.
Honestly, I do. I cheat on Starbucks with Woods coffee. And if you know Trevor Van Worden, he can explain it's a decent choice. It's not a bad idea. And Aaron Gibson.
On him with a different coffee?
He does. He does. Oh. And you know what's sad though, guys, is if you saw my kitchen, I have like 30 pounds of coffee sitting there. We have backstock of whole bean coffee. I mean, if the end of the world comes, I have stock and I'm rich.
May May I recommend decaf for you?
It's sad. I don't drink enough coffee. The only time I do it is once in a while, and I really do like this like coconut flavored thing. We did this like avalanche and mudslide, I think was the other one, but it was a dark chocolate. The other one was a coconut and white chocolate, and we were so hyper. Aaron has photos. You got tagged in it. You saw him doing the Mario
Those
jump.
funny photos, yeah.
We were so hyper.
All right. Well, listen. Let's bring our other guest here.
Here we go.
We have well, let's bring Sajith, who came back up. So Sajith, welcome back up. Thank you for joining us. Is your mic working?
Yep, it's finally working.
Yes.
So
all right.
Hey, welcome.
Well, please
So I missed
share your
last
thoughts.
week's session, so I'm going to compensate for that, right?
Yeah.
Great
Well,
topic,
introduce
first
yourself
of all.
to people
Thank you for
and
bringing it
tell
up.
us your thoughts.
Thank you for bringing up this topic. Very important at the right time, especially when people are so worried about how is this government decision and the company's decision going to affect this, right? I just want to bring some perspective based on what my thought. Great that you mentioned, Felipe, that it is not only the HR's prerogative, it is also the culture of that particular company, right? And culture starts with every individual employee. So when you look at how do you want to build that culture, it cannot be a top-down approach. When you look at hiring managers, and if hiring managers can take up that decision saying that, hey, I'm going to have 50% of my hires this year to be DI candidates, I don't think any leadership person would go and say that no, you can't do that. That's not how it is work. How it's going to work, right? The other thing, what Melissa said to Jeffrey's question regarding you, how do you make a sweeping change, right? How do you wait and rate? Of course, you need everybody to embrace it, but are you going to wait for another 5 years, 10 years for the whole world to say that we need DI, or are you going to start small from your level of activity and how you're going to do it, right? Very early in my career, this is something that I've done, and I find and understand the challenges of it also. When you want to scale it up, it's not very easy, right? Every fourth candidate that I put in a talent pool is going to be a diversity candidate. I have 3 candidates in the pipeline. I have enough time to search more, dig more, find the right kind of candidate. I see hiring managers are going to look at talent regardless of who that person is. But the challenge is getting the right kind of people into that pool. And I had done this. I've taken extra efforts to do that. 48% was my diversity hire rate before COVID. After COVID, it completely tanked, right? Even, and there were many reasons. I think we have all discussed that during COVID, females and other people had to support the family. They were not very active in the job. So there were a lot of reasons for that also. But as a company initiative, when people say that we're no longer going to support DEI activities, right? As an individual, what are you going to do about it, right? The ripple effect. Are we going to make those small changes as hiring managers, as talent experts, as even employees who are going to refer? Are you going to find out, hey, I've referred all the Johns and Tims, but am I also going to refer the Melissas and other diversity people into from my network for those roles? So those are conscious decisions that people need to take. They need to understand where it is, and then, and also, Felipe, like you mentioned, it's an individual choice, right? People whom you're hiring, what you're going to hire at your level in your company, Felipe, you might be able to do it. Can you do it for a whole industry? No, that's not going to happen overnight. We have, I think, slipped at least 15 20 years behind in our DEI activities in the last 4 5 years, right? Those are my thoughts. We can talk about it till the cows come home. Individually, I think that as a person, I can do more, and I need to just try to find out how I can do better. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, can I just jump in and say one thing? I love what you said, and it made a thought pop. And I don't know which comment you said that made it pop, because I really don't. But when I lived in small town Nebraska, it was harder to diversify my applicant pool, right? Because statistically speaking, the town was not very diverse. That does not mean that we can't diversify age groups, disability statuses. Maybe we take the educated and non-degree holders, right? Those who have confirmation and those who might have learned on the job a different way. And so we can diversify in other ways until the applicant pool diversifies itself based on the location. Now, global companies usually lead DEI because they are in more locations, and so they have a better DEI footing, right? There's more applicants coming in from all over, and so they can help push those initiatives. And I think it's a mindfulness thing. We can't be mad at a small town business who does not have a demographic to support DEI from a race or ethnicity standpoint, but we definitely can from a gender or an age group, or making sure we're looking at our talent pools and where we're sourcing from, and not just hiring from the prestigious colleges, maybe looking at community colleges or trade schools, or just volunteer activities that were longstanding and give good recommendations. There's so many ways to look at this, but I love what you said, and that's what came up from you, Felipe.
Sujith, I'm so glad you brought this up because, we talked about success and how it doesn't happen overnight. One of the things, when you mentioned it's not just leadership, it's the staff, it made me realize one of the measurements that I use to see if we are achieving any kind of success when it comes around this topic is when the staff feels safe and comfortable enough to challenge leadership when we're going astray. And what I mean by that is when the staff feels comfortable enough to come up and say, hold on, that's not part of our mission. That's not part of our values. And that would not be in line with it. That says a lot about the culture when your staff feel strong enough to stand up for the company's missions, even when the leadership is going in a different direction. And what that comes down to is building trust and being transparent. And you mentioned the candidates, Sujith. I'm a huge fan of being transparent with candidates. I want them to know what the honest hours are going to work, what the work is going to look like, what the onboarding and training is real. If they're going to get 2 weeks of solid training with a training plan, great. If they're going to be initiation by fire, and guess what? You get trained for a day and then we need you to start working. Okay. And each company is different. And sometimes that is the reason why, hey, this company is too small. They need to hire somebody that can come in and start working from like day 2 after they get showed on day 1. Bigger companies say, hey, it's okay. We have the staff and the team to train you for 2 to 4 weeks and make sure that you are well trained and prepared to do the job to the best of your ability. It's going to be different, y'all. We can't expect every company to be the same because it's just not reality. But we can expect them to be ethical, have good morals and mission and values, and I think that's okay. Because at the end of the day, the ones that are doing the best hiring practices are the ones that are going to attract the top talent. And the last thing I'll say about the AA word, affirmative action word, is with employer affirmative action, the goal was to hire and make sure that your workplace reflected the community around your workplace. So if your community was half Black and half Hispanic, and the majority of your staff were Black and Hispanic, then you were actually sharing a reflection of that community. That was one of the measurements that they had to try to ensure that people in the community had opportunities to work in these companies and big corporations weren't coming in and only hiring people from the outside. All right, so Sajid, thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. I want to bring on, we have 2 more people and then we have to wrap up here. So we have Brian and we have Kenny who came up. So Brian, thank you for joining us. Sujith, I'm going to move you down carefully here. And Brian, please tell us your thoughts on this topic. Introduce yourself for those who don't know you. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Felipe. I was a little late coming in, so I may not totally know what the topic is.
Well, let me ask you this then, Brian. Are you going to go Washington? What's your team, Felipe? Commanders or
Eagles?
I'm trying to help. Look,
Did you have an opinion?
Do you want to support Brian? Felipe's or do you want to go anti-Felipe?
Well, okay. So I don't really have one because I am a Giants fan. So and I honestly see good qualities in both teams. So
that was a very diplomatic answer, Brian. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Hey, so, go Brian, Giants next year.
Brian, talk to us. You are such a huge advocate for autism. and I always have such admiration and respect for all the work that you do. I don't know how much you have heard in the news about these executive orders around DEI and things of that sort, but in your world, have you heard any conversations around this? Has it impacted you at all?
Um, well, um, I have been impacted anyway by this. So, you know, I think that there's a big misconception that DEI is just about the people of different colors, because that was when it was implemented. But it's also about differently abled people, whether it's autism, Down syndrome, or another diagnosis. So, um, I mean, I'm scared about what it means in terms of job opportunities and opportunities in general for this community with the rollbacks. Um, I don't think it was the right thing to do, to roll it back. There are a lot of things over this past week that I don't think it was right to do, and I know it took a while before the post got in the LinkedIn algorithm. I actually commented on it first on my own post because um, it was just a status only post. I just didn't think a photo would be appropriate for it. And I had to type it out first before I could say exactly how I felt um, on a video. So that's why I did that. But I did put out a mini video last night, and I used I made a slight change to "I Won't Give Up" by Jason Mraz, um, and I did that because I was doing that for the autism community when I say "I won't give up for us," um, and so um, it is a setback in my opinion, but you can't give up because you know just because of one person or because of a group of people who are billionaires who might be out of touch with reality. You have to um, you have to keep pushing forward, because at some point it could be one of them, as my director would say in networking introductions. Any one of us could be that kind of person one day where we're really struggling and really needy. So, don't get too high on yourself. Um, you know, listen to other people's stories. It's not just about you and yours. And that's how I feel about it. So,
Well,
thank you
Brian,
for letting me share.
no, thank you for sharing that. What you said was so powerful, um, and I think that you mentioned fear, and I think that's a common feeling that a lot of people are experiencing right now is the fear of the unknown. But I love that two things that you demonstrated so amazingly well, Brian, is you didn't react. Like you said, you responded. You wrote things down. You didn't put an image out right away. You took time to respond intentfully. And I think that right there, Brian, is demonstrating exactly what we said in the very beginning of the show, you all, is that with uncertainty and change like this, don't react right away. Take time to reflect and respond. Brian, kudos to you on that. And also just the fact that, the work that you're doing for all those out there, whether it's for those who are neurodiverse or for autism, thank you for being so strong and being that advocate that is not going to give up, that is giving them that hope that some of them might need because they aren't as strong as you. And that's the difference that one person can make, you all. So please, if you have not met Brian or not following Brian, please do me a favor, follow him and support him. And the last thing I'll say about this, Brian, before we go to Houston and then to Kenny and wrap up the show is I love how you tie music into everything you do. Music resonates with people, so don't stop doing that. Keep on doing you because it's amazing. Houston?
Oh, Brian, you made me get emotional for the first time. And I want to tell you, just to be clear, it was a good thing. But I almost felt like a proud mom in a way, just to kind of put it in perspective, because I know you've grown on this platform using your voice on other platforms as well. And I know that's part of the ripple that's affecting you, possibly. You are very active on TikTok, and that's a big means of your communications for your community. And so not only are you looking at DEI initiatives changing, but you have maybe a platform being taken away that was a voice for you. And so it's a lot of uncertainty, guys. It's exactly what this conversation was meant to be. And maybe not exactly the topic, but I knew it would come up because it's part of the confusion for me too. That's why I took a break this week. Is I didn't want to react, and I knew I could. I knew I was too angry yesterday, and I knew I was emotional because of other things that you guys aren't aware of. Or maybe, if you go look at the post, you might be able to put some pieces together. But there's things going on in my network, and I'm part of the support system, or my friends are going through stuff because of people they care about, and there's a lot going on. But all that said, I listened to Brian use his voice here, and he was comfortable to do so. And while we all on this stage, everybody, and I'm going to do this as a blanket statement for any parties listening, this is our own view. We are not representing any organization. We are just talking about ourselves here and what we've seen, lived, and experienced, and our personal beliefs. And we're not representing anybody by sharing it, but we are representing our life. And I look at Brian sharing a story, and he's worked to raise his voice, and he's sharing it on behalf of others who don't always have the verbal capabilities. If you don't know enough about autism to understand that, that's huge. And that's what Felipe meant by those who may not have the skill set that Brian possesses, right? And so it's important to know that you felt comfortable sharing here, and you always have a safe place with me to keep using your voice. I know Felipe shares that same sentiment by giving you the mic today and bringing it back to what it really means. Like I said, DEI is so big. Kinga has said it. Felipe has said it. People in my network talk about it all the time. It is not the one thing everybody's pointing at. And even if it is, why does that upset others? If something matters to me, if my favorite color is the rainbow, why does that bother you if yours isn't? Right? And so then I would say, let's assess why we're responding or feeling the need to react to somebody else's belief system. And how does it impact us genuinely beyond the fact that it made us feel something? Because my feeling doesn't change Felipe's reality. I feel I am less informed on football than he is because I really didn't know about the Commanders, and it's been a minute since I focused. Nebraska, I blame because they didn't have a team. But that doesn't mean his passion means less now.
Okay,
It really
we're getting into
doesn't.
Nebraska now. Can we move on?
No, Felipe, but I'm just saying your passion doesn't mean less just because I'm not informed, right?
Exactly.
And that's the point. That is
Yeah.
100% the point. And while I pick on you, I don't want it to get lost in this loss today. I only pick on him for the fun of savor the flavor, Mr. Kenny, right here.
All right. So
but thank you again, Brian, for sharing and coming back.
Brian, I'm going to carefully move you into the green room. Don't trip as you walk through the door. And Kenny, I know that this is so important to you. I'm going to bring this up right now because I know that you want to know who is going to win the Commanders versus the Eagles game today at 3 p.m. Eastern, today, Sunday, January 26th, on a station I'm not going to mention. And so, Kenny,
this is not a paid endorsement, but could be. Guys, Kenny, Commanders, reach out to Felipe.
As someone who is such an incredible fan of the game of football, please tell everybody, who are you rooting for?
Tennis.
I knew it.
One of the Williams, right, Kenny? It's the Williams sisters. Let's go.
They retired.
So are there? What? Every
they
time?
retired.
All right. Well, I'm retired.
Oh, well, look, that's how good of a sports fan I am.
Well, Kenny, it's great to see you up here. Thank you for not being a bot. We miss seeing your beautiful face. Please tell us your thoughts on this topic and anything else you want to share.
I agree with all the sentiments that I've heard. Diversity is a lot of things, not just one thing. And I agree with everything that I heard. And I'm not a bot.
He's not a bot.
Yeah,
like that.
it's definitely. And if you ever want to see, Kenny's a very calm, cool, collected person. Just tell him that tennis is not a sport, and you'll see a whole different Kenny come out. It's really fun.
Or say caramel.
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 Carmel.
Caramel. Caramel, right, Kenny?
Caramel.
Well, Kenny, I hope as one of my dear friends that you, at least if you had to root for somebody, that at least your positive thoughts will be lent to the Washington Commanders today.
I root for me.
Yes, you know what? You are a PETA.
I love him.
No,
if you're not your biggest fan, then people need to book a session for mindset coaching. I love that answer.
Yeah, he's his biggest fan, but if you mention tennis, he'll tell you who he loves.
Okay, well, let's ask the serious question. Let me get serious. Kenny.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Are we going orange or turquoise?
Turquoise.
There we go. Boom. Eagles.
Wow, Kenny. I'm hurt. And you know who else is hurt? You know who is so sad right now?
No, he's not. He don't.
This
care.
person right here. He is.
He doesn't
look at this
care.
face. Look what you did to this face. He is so.
He's
sad
upset
right
at you. He's like, did you ask permission to put me on camera?
Look at
like,
this sad
he does not want
face.
to be there.
He is so sad. How could you do that to him? And look, wait. And so is she. She's sad too. We got two sad dogs
What
here.
is happening here?
Well, I mean, how can you vote for the color that they're not wearing?
Can I get the audience to tell me, do you think Felipe's dogs are being abused by being forced to be on camera?
Yes.
Oh no, he loves me. Look, I'm hands-free. He can jump off
Hey,
anything.
did you ask them to choose their jersey, or did you force them to wear those colors? Did you give them choices?
They were size appropriate. Right, Copper? Size appropriate? He's like,
Copper says, Gabe says he's a Cowboy fan.
Gabe, you're no longer my friend, and Copper does not like you.
Gabe did not say that, but I just wanted to start a fight for Kenny's.
He rescinds his
pleasure.
podcast invite. He does not want to be on your podcast if you think he's a Cowboys fan.
You didn't even listen. I said I was just kidding. I just wanted to see you instead of respond. Look at how now. Listen, Felipe just gave us a valuable experience here. That was reacting instead of responding.
There you go. Thank you very much. And I hope I did well for you all. Good job, Copper. You did that very well.
And no dogs were hurt in the making of this experiment.
All right, listen, you all. I hope that you all take a moment to watch this wonderful game. I'm going to turn off my camera here. And Kenny, thank you for being with us. And why is it always so dark? I feel like you're in like Alaska somewhere.
The room is dark.
He's chilling. It's the weekend. He's in his bed like I am, just hanging out. I was broadcasting from my bed the whole time.
No, I feel like
Felipe had to get dressed, and I was in my pajamas and chilling like a villain.
Me too.
I'm concerned that Kenny's like in the middle of the woods somewhere in the dark right now because it's so dark. For all I know, he's in the middle of the woods, and somebody could come behind him.
Stop forcing us to be on video on Zoom, Felipe. It's not diverse.
I didn't force.
It's not inclusive.
I didn't push Kenny's button. Kenny pushed
he doesn't need to have a bright background either. I like it. It's dark and sultry.
Kenny, anyway, any final thoughts?
Kenny, thank you for coming.
Yes.
Any final thoughts, Kenny?
Yes, I'm in my bed. Yes.
Well, enjoy your Sunday nap, and I hope that you have a great rest of your week, Kenny. Thank you for joining us on stage.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you for all your support. Carefully
and go sports ball.
No.
And go tennis.
Listen, guys, this has been so much fun. I appreciate seeing that Restream did say we got like a lot of comments and a lot of engagement today. So must have meant something to you guys. I know it meant something to me, and I appreciate you being willing to get up here and do this crazy thing with me, Felipe, because sometimes people just need to hear us kind of talk through it, even if we don't have answers. We didn't tell you what to think. We didn't tell you how to sort or like what to do with the data once it's sorted. We just told you how to sort it and assess it for yourself. And I really hope that's the same mindset you're bringing to others when you're sharing your stuff. You allow them to sort and assess it at their leisure and when they can, because you don't know what they got going on in that noodle before you try to put your notes in there. So just be kind. Keep repeating the conversation on your own platform. Engage with people. You know, I'll be honest. If they've been on my platform and don't believe in DEI, I'm concerned. I have biracial family members. My own children are a mixed race. My grandchildren are as well. I'm concerned about where this is going in the future because I've seen 50 years of progress. I don't want to see 50 years of regression. But I'm going to keep having the conversations, not screaming that their rights are gone, but talking about the fact that it could go that way, right? If we can go left or right down two paths on a street, we got to be honest about it. There are two paths we can take, and it doesn't mean we're necessarily on that path, but who's to say the next vote wouldn't change that, or the next person in power wouldn't change that? And so don't just vote for today. Really take a step back, vote your conscience, vote for a lifetime, think through it all. And that goes for your employment decisions, your personal decisions, how you engage with your family, your friends, you know, whether or not you eat that extra dessert every day. These are lifelong determinations that you're going to make, and it does have a ripple. My hips will tell you, when I was eating extra dessert all the time, it impacted my thighs. Now I'm cutting back, and that's making a change too. So plus, you know, some minus some, that's how it works. But we got to determine what we need to invest in and what we don't, what we want more of and what we don't. And that's in every aspect of our lives, right, Felipe?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, thank you all so much for coming. I hope that you all got some value out of here. As a reminder, here's just real quick. I'm just going to throw on the screen Felipe's 5 tips. I said that one was for leadership. If you want to take a screenshot, pull out your phone. I'm going to show you some QR codes as well. But I also wanted to make sure that you all know that in the comments, I also put a link to our playlist. So you can check out the playlist of this podcast as well as all the past ones. And here's the second Felipe's 5 here, if you want to take a screenshot of that. And then, of course, the QR codes that we mentioned, in case you didn't get a chance to capture those, I want to share those real quick. Wrong one there. So for Melissa's website, click on this QR code here and make sure you check out her website. If you want to check out the YouTube, here's my YouTube page. If you want to purchase the book that Melissa and I co-authored, that was published by Nick, the Gifted Bipolar Writer, click on this wonderful QR code there.
And hey, if you guys want signed copies, because I know I made a comment, I really would want Felipe to sign his book for me. And I will have all my friends sign my book, my copy of the book, when I meet them in person, which is a plan. But if you guys want one, let us know. We don't have anywhere to send you for that, but we would be happy to make it happen. If you want us both to sign it, we're going to have to send each other the book and make it happen. It's more processing. But, you know, we might just charge you shipping or a little extra to make it work, but we will get it to you a little differently than that QR code. So non-signed copies, you can get it there. If you want a copy signed, we might be able to work that out. Let me know.
And as we mentioned earlier, you can always thank us with a cup of coffee. So feel free to do that. And with that, Miss Houston, do you have any final thoughts on anything that you have coming up or anything you want to share?
Well, I am really excited about this video streaming more than I thought I would be. I do think I'm still trying to figure out how to reinstall my camera on my laptop, which I really deleted, guys. I don't know how I would have done that, but I made a quick decision. I wasn't thinking. I didn't.
Yeah, right.
Stop that. Why would I make myself look stupid for no reason? Who does that? I wouldn't admit to something so silly if I had done it. It really isn't. I tried to do it and it's like, hey, no camera. So listen, guys, I just want you to let me know if you know how to reinstall the data for a Lenovo laptop driver for the camera that's already there. And then also, do you have other ideas for us to talk about? Because we'd love to help cover the topics you want to cover, but we don't always know what that is because you're not telling us. And I know Felipe and I try to be diverse, but we live on the same platform you do. And sometimes I feel like our titles maybe seem complementary to some of the other data that's out there. And the only way to diversify our topics is to have you guys help feed that. So what do you want to know about? Is it a career thing? Is it 2025 is the year for you to shift jobs and you want help? Let us know. Is there chaos in your life? Is it relationship? Is it employment, personal? It doesn't matter. We could talk about it. As a general coaching, like time management, you know, upskilling, executive mindsets and things like that. We could do anything you want. We could give you our favorite cookie recipes. It doesn't matter. You guys get to pick. That's the best part of the show, in my opinion, is we could talk about anything. So that's what I would say. Come back, keep coming back, do team replay, hashtag if you do. Let us know your favorite takeaways. And don't forget that the 3P model, right, that the Navy SEALs use, the problem, plan, prioritize, and execute. Also, OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, rinse, repeat. It's a loop. That's what it means. It's a circle. Hey, it's a circle, guys. Imagine that. Beyond that, though, go check out Felipe's website. Go follow him if you're not. He's the guy who hosts the show. If you're not ringing that bell and doing all posts, you're missing out for sure. And he's kind of one of those cool LinkedIn, top voices. He's got the special badge. So maybe they think he posts relevant stuff. I think it's 50-50. I didn't get asked. Just kidding, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. I hope your team wins. Go team.
Thank you.
I really do hope you get this, because as the Cardinals are my team, I like underdogs winning once in a while.
The Cardinals aren't playing, so stop mentioning the Cardinals.
We were once
anyways,
the NFC West champions.
I meant to mention this in the very beginning. I had a little hidden Easter egg, not Easter egg, a little hidden thing for people to look for. So there's 5 hidden images in our graphic. If you can list all 5 hidden images, the first person to do that in the comments will get a little prize.
Do I get a prize? I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Your prize is listening to me.
If you say it's you, can I talk to your wife? I need 2 minutes on the phone with Michelle.
All right. Well, listen. For those of you, again, check out the 5 hidden images. Tell me, list the 5 hidden images that are in there in the comments, and first person to do it will get a prize. Also, if you have interest in checking out the next episode of the Workplace Wellness Hour, I do have recorded episodes on my YouTube page as well. We'll be having that next Monday, not this Monday, not tomorrow, but a week from Monday. So come check that out with Samana Jetty and Ashley Fluellen. And other than that, I am going to simply say, go Commanders. May they win today against the Eagles, because if they go to the Super Bowl, I'm going to do a serious post. Because again, y'all, it's been 33 years. My kids have not lived to see them win like this, and they've been alive for 25 and 23 years. So
are we a show on Super Bowl Sunday? Is this a thing? Like, does the lineup work that way, or are we
I don't know.
on an off week?
I think it's February 6th. Let me tell you right now. Let's see.
Yeah, I think that's an off week then.
Let's see. If today is the 26th. Oh, wait. No. When is the Super Bowl, the 2nd or the 9th?
I have no idea.
I think it might be. It might be the 9th. It might be an on week. Hold on. Google, when is the Super Bowl?
Listen, technology works.
All right. Super Bowl is on. Stand by. Why is taking so long to load?
I know our comment section is going to get to us.
Yeah, the 9th. It is the 9th. So yes, we do have a show on Super Bowl Sunday. So
all right, well, we'll see you there, guys. That's the next topic.
I will be either very, very pumped or I'll be very, very sad. One of the two.
You better pick a new team if yours doesn't win. You can't not have a team Super Bowl Sunday. That's an order, sir, please. Because look, I'm saying go team right now.
If the Eagles go, I will be anyone playing against the Eagles is who I'll be rooting for. Let me just say that right now.
That's a fair assessment. Like you're using my method of anti-Felipe teams. But that really... I hope you guys enjoy the game. I hope you guys have fun. Go do something for yourself. Go take some time off. Get your brain off of work and upskilling and coaching and all the crap. Go enjoy a beverage of your choice. It could be a lemonade. It could be something else. Go eat good food. Go call somebody you care about and come back next time.
Yeah, and you know what? We're back here in 2 weeks, and I echo what Melissa just said because I didn't share about it today, but I'll share about it next time. If you don't make yourself a priority, it can manifest in other issues mentally and physically. And I had one manifest that I'm not really excited about. So I'll share about that little teaser in 2 weeks from now. With that being said, everyone have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Sunday. Go Commanders. And if you have questions about the chaos, the careers, or coaching, reach out to Melissa and I. We're here for you. See you in 2 weeks, you all. And
bye, guys.
Take care.